got plenty of food, and it looks amazing. So we definitely want you to take advantage of that. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up our city manager, Nathaniel Trey Davis.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. The first thing I want to say is thank you to one of the most amazing partners that we've had, and that's the Greensboro Realtors Association. If you're here representing Greensboro Realtors Association, please stand up or throw your hand up for everyone. I know you might be eating now. You know, I've got to say that, number one, you all have always been very welcoming to me. I came into this space at the beginning of when we started talking about this need for housing, had different conversations. You invited me in, and you were all very welcoming, and I just want to say thank you. I think it is very befitting that we have this second iteration of our Road to 10,000 Road Show here today. This gives us an opportunity as the City of Greensboro to hear from you. But even more importantly, I'd like all of you who have been in this market, who've been in Greensboro for some time, that know Greensboro, to just take a moment to look around to see all the folks that you have in the room. I've had many conversations through the years, and this is really what it's going to take for us to truly meet the moment and move the needle in Greensboro when you talk about housing. A number of things. I see a number of friends in the room. I won't call your name out. But I see a number of folks that when we have personal conversations, whether it's over coffee or whether they're calling me to say, hey, Trey, I'm having a challenge. These are the spaces that we need to really move the needle and do the things that we need to do for Greensboro. Another thing I want to highlight is that there's some really important people in the room. When we started the Road to 10,000, one of the things that we knew we needed is to be able to convene or have a group of people from our community that represent a different aspect of the community. For years, a lot of you, whether you're builders and developers, you have different concerns or you have different ideas or thoughts to kind of close that gap with city staff. So what we did is pull together a Road to 10K task force of folks who represent our community. So if you're a member of the Road to 10K task force, please either throw your hand up, stand up, throw something at me, whatever you want to do. I really want people to see who you are. So I won't call them out individually, but because I don't want anybody to know who's the tough one in that bunch. But I've got to tell you, if you wondered if this was just one of those task force that the city put together just to have people, just to say we had a task force, I promise you it is not that, because they challenge us every time we meet. And they challenge us in a way to make sure that the city of Greensboro is doing things or putting things in place that can really address this need that we're talking about today. Today, there'll be a number of conversations that we'll have. There'll be different resources from our city departments. We're excited today. We've got our brand new Housing and Neighborhood Development Director who's here with us. Can you throw your hand up? We're excited. I'm sure he didn't know I was going to throw him in the fire this fast, but he's ready. And again, you know, just a number of folks that I've developed relationships with through not just the years, but over this past year when we started the Road to 10K. This is really about what you see today and having partnerships from the city of Greensboro with the people that are truly committed to do this work. And I am so thankful that you're here. Glad you're here. I know we got some good food. I have not touched the food yet, but I am intending on getting there. So please enjoy, and thank you again for being here today. We really appreciate you. Thank you, April.
Thank you so much, City Manager Davis. All right, now we are actually going to hear from one of our partners of this event. We are so appreciative to the Greensboro Regional Realtors Association. We'd like to bring up their president to give some remarks. Thank you so much, Mary Beth.
opportunity that we have. I don't know if this one's on or not. This one. What an opportunity that we have this morning. Thank you guys for coming out this early in the morning to convene. I'm happy to see everybody's faces, and not sure where John went, but happy anniversary to you. Hopefully you told your wife that you're just out to get her breakfast, and you'll be back in just a few minutes, right? So I'm going to try to do this without my glasses. Before anything else, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the leadership and collaboration that brought us to this point. The road to 10,000 didn't just appear on a slide or in a headline. It came from people in this room who recognized a problem and had the courage to start fixing it. And it's working. This initiative has already brought more alignment between city leadership, developers, and housing advocates that we've seen in years. Realtors, and I'll speak for all of us, we see that, we appreciate that, and we want to help keep it moving forward. Realtors don't exactly specialize in slow and steady. We're built for contracts, countdowns, and calls that start with, "Do you have just a minute?" And somehow that turns into 30 minutes later. But that sense of urgency comes from heart. Every day, people count on us to help them make life-changing moves. So if you're looking for a group that knows how to turn panic into progress, we are your people. We only know one speed, and that's forward. I think about a young teacher who started her first job here in Greensboro. She was eager to make a difference, but when she started looking for a home near her school, there were no attainable options. She stretched her budget, looked farther out, and ended up buying nearly 40 minutes away. After a year long of commutes and higher cost, she left, and not for a better job, but for a closer home. Then there's a couple that I met last spring, a longtime Greensboro homeowner ready to downsize, but hoping to stay near friends and family. Every option that they found was either too expensive, too large, or already gone. So they've stayed put, not because they want to, but because there's nowhere for them to go. That's the quiet side of this housing shortage. It's not just about who can't buy, it's about those who can't move. When move up or downsizing options disappear, the entire market clogs. Inventory stays locked, mobility slows, and pressure rises at every price point. Equity that could be reinvested into our local economy just sits, trapped by a lack of attainable alternatives. That's not just a housing issue, that's an economic one. And the numbers make it crystal clear. North Carolina is short more than 764,000 homes by 2029. Guilford County alone will need 32,000 new units in the next 5 years. Right now, we have fewer than 1,000 homes on the market. Back in 2007, we had over 4,000. And that's not a market cycle, that's a bottleneck. So when we say 10,000 homes by 2030, let's be honest, but that doesn't mean we scale down the vision. It means we build smarter, faster, and together. Zoning is key. If we keep allowing one type of housing in one type of neighborhood, we'll keep getting the same results. We need more of that missing middle. Townhomes, duplexes, smaller single-family homes. Attainable options for families who want to live where they work. When those aren't available, people leave. And when they leave, we lose more than buyers. We lose volunteers, coaches, small business owners, and community leaders. We don't have to look far for inspiration. Greensboro's own Revolution Mill proves that what happens when vision meets persistence. What once was a vacant industrial site is now a thriving mix of homes, offices, art studios, and restaurants, a place that honors our history while serving modern needs. That same energy has been replicated across North Carolina, in Bessemer City, where a former textile mill became new housing, and in Concord and High Point, where once idle districts are now vibrant mixed-use communities. These are the kinds of projects that breathe life back into places long overlooked. And we can absolutely do more of that right here. Infrastructure has to move in step with growth. We can't add homes if water, sewer, roads, and utilities can't support them. We have to build the backbone before we expand the body. Communities deserve systems that work, not homes stranded without access or connection. When developers see permitting delays stretching months longer than they should, they notice. Higher cost and unpredictable timelines change everything. If another county makes that process easier and faster, that's where the investment goes. We have an opportunity right now to shape our reputation, to be known across the state as business-friendly, developer-friendly, and solutions-driven. That means zoning, permitting, and inspections all working together, communicating clearly, and supporting growth. If we build that reputation, we will build momentum. We also need to keep working with the people already changing lives right here in our community. Agencies like the NC Housing Finance Agency and one of our very own, Sophia Crisp with the Housing Consultants Group, are on the front lines helping families prepare, qualify, and buy homes. But partnership means more than just cheering them on. It means integrating their work into the broader strategy so that every effort adds up to real, measurable progress. Accessory dwelling units are another underused tool. They allow flexibility, a parent close by, an adult child getting started, or a modest rental to help a family make ends meet. Without changing the character of a neighborhood, for many, an ADU can be the difference between moving away and staying close. And while we're talking about opportunity, let's not forget city-owned land. We have parcels already in our hands that could become a part of this solution. Let's look at what partnerships the city and private developers could do there, transforming underused land into attainable housing that meets real local needs. All of this connects directly to the Carolina core, the engine that's driving so much of our regional growth. Toyota in Liberty, Boom Supersonic in Greensboro, Honda Jet expanding, PTI thriving. These projects are changing the landscape of our region. But if we can't house the people those companies are hiring, the benefits of that growth won't stay here. Housing is the foundation that keeps the Carolina core competitive. And let's be honest, the competition is watching. Other regions are moving quickly. Durham and Raleigh are streamlining processes, cutting red tape, and rewarding developers who get attainable housing built. Some counties are even sharing the infrastructure cost or offering fast-track utility connections to get homes to market faster. They're sending a clear message. If you bring the jobs, we'll bring the housing. Greensboro can't afford to lag behind. We were chosen out of many areas that would have loved to be in our position. Because of the whole package, our workforce, our infrastructure, our airport, our leadership, and our reputation for collaboration. But with that comes responsibility. We can't rest on this win. If we don't deliver the housing we've promised, attainable, available, and timely, another region will. Companies go where talent can live. And if that talent can't live here, they'll look elsewhere. This is our moment to prove that Greensboro and the Carolina core weren't chosen by chance. We were chosen on purpose. And now it's up to us to make good on that promise. Let's talk about one of the toughest barriers that we face, the good, not in my backyard mindset. We all have a role. We all have a role in changing that. People love the new jobs and they love the new restaurants and the new parks as long as they don't have to see that and the new homes that come with them. But growth doesn't work like that. As realtors, we stand number one for private property rights. That means respecting ownership, not trying to control what someone else does with their own land. If we truly believe in opportunity, we can't be the ones that stand in the way of it. As we look ahead, we can't forget the other end of the housing spectrum. Our local housing study showed something that should concern each and every one of us. There is substandard housing in our community that falls below acceptable standards. We have to remember these families too. As we plan for progress, this initiative isn't just about new construction. It's about ensuring every single resident in Guilford County has access to housing that's safe, stable, and dignified. Greensboro has the talent, the leadership, and the opportunity to set the standard for housing innovation in North Carolina. The road to 10,000 isn't the finish line, it's just the foundation. The start of building a Greensboro that grows with its people, welcomes new opportunity, and never forgets the value of home. The roadmap is here, and the will is here. Let's build on everything Greensboro has worked so hard to achieve, because timing matters, and in this market, timing isn't just everything, it's the difference between potential and progress, and our time is now. Thank you very much. And I'm so glad to have that over with that I have no idea who's coming next, so I'm going to pass the thing on.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. That was a very timely message, and we appreciate it. I think a big part of this theme is going to be partnerships. The City of Greensboro cannot do it alone, so we are very appreciative to the Realtors Association. And our next speaker, John Hardister, who is over TREBIC. With those folks, that's how we got probably one of the largest groups we've ever had in this room to talk about housing. So, John?
Thank you. Thank you, April. Good morning, everyone. How's it going? All right. So I had my speech prepared to go on for about an hour, but I'm going to make it about 90 seconds. Is that okay? But y'all have had breakfast already, right? Okay, great. First, I want to thank Manager Davis. I remember we were at, I guess it was your retreat last year, or was that January? I lose track of time. Whenever that was, he said, hey, I've got this idea for a housing initiative. I said, well, I thought you'd never ask. And then the manager made the announcement. He was backed up by the council. And on behalf of TREBIC, we're very excited to partner with you and your staff on this. April, thank you for putting this together. So TREBIC is comprised of over 170 private companies that range from developers to engineers to folks who work in residential, commercial, industrial, everything. We have several member associations, including the Greensboro Builders Association. If you're with GBA, could you put your hand up? Thank you all for being here. How about the Piedmont Triad Apartment Association? Right here. Yes, there's Tom over there. Also, we work with NAIOP. Now, I know that's commercial, but we all talk about the fact that, hey, if you want to have industrial, you want to have commercial, what do you have to have? You got to have houses. You got to have the rooftops. So I want to thank the Realtors for commissioning the study, and I know you did that in partnership with, was it the chamber that did that with y'all? Did y'all do that unilaterally? Okay. What was it? The Bowen research? Okay. And I think we're somewhere around 30,000 units short, but that was before the Toyota announcement was made. TREBIC also works with the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, and we are super excited to see all the economic developments going on in the Carolina Core, in Guilford County, Boom Supersonic, Toyota, Jet Zero, all the above. It's super exciting, but there's also a little bit of a challenge that comes along with that. And I'm not worried about that challenge because I know we're going to meet it. Because I look out here, I see the City of Greensboro, I see the Realtors, I see other stakeholders in the room. We understand that we have to have the rooftops. If you want to have affordable housing, attainable housing, missing middle, you got to get to work. I appreciate the City of Greensboro partnering with us and allowing TREBIC and our members and the Realtors and everybody else to engage in this process. One more thing I want to point out here. I want to take a moment of personal privilege, and I look around, I see so many faces. The City of Greensboro has been really good to work with. I've been with TREBIC now for about 18 months, and whenever I call, and I know I bother Marshall Yandel every now and then, and there's other people in the room sometimes I bother, but we appreciate y'all being receptive to us. And to the City Council members in the room, I think if you're with the City Council, would you put your hand up? See the Lone Ranger over here? Councilman Hugh Holston is here. So I want to thank the City Council for your leadership as well. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing from the panel and then the breakout sessions. Here's what I want to close with. I want to make sure that the road to 10,000 is not only paved with good intentions, but that it leads to results. Now let's get to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. So we keep talking about the road to 10,000, road to 10,000. If you aren't attuned to the news sometimes or haven't visited the city's website, you may not know where this idea came from or really what the concept really is. So we're going to do a brief overview with our Assistant City Manager, Nasha McCrae.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see so many familiar faces this morning. I really appreciate you all being here with us, especially being that you are the folks that actually helped build the housing in Greensboro. As April mentioned, we've launched the Road to 10,000 initiative in March of this year, and we've already surpassed our goal of at least 2,100 units that we've already started on that road, which is pretty impressive. That's 7 months, and as you all know, by City Hall standards, that is a ludicrous speed. So we're very excited about that. But before I dive into providing some updates and metrics, I want to set the stage for what the Road to 10,000 actually is and why it matters. So, as was aforementioned, the Road to 10,000 is the City of Greensboro's coordinated effort and plan to achieve 10,000 units to our market across all price points, across all neighborhoods and housing types by the end of this decade. And the goal is simple, but it is ambitious. We want to grow our housing supply so that it keeps up with our job growth and our population trends. We also want to expand our housing choice for residents at every income level, and we want to be able to support economic development by ensuring that people who actually live and work in Greensboro, they can afford to actually live here. And so the initiative is also about collaboration. It brings together developers, builders, lenders, realtors like you all, as well as our local government leaders, our neighborhood leaders around a shared mission, building more housing faster, smarter, while keeping Greensboro inclusive and livable. And so it's not just a slogan that our city manager came up with. It's a work plan that has some real milestones, it has accountability, and it actually has measurable results. And yes, we are already seeing the results. So here's the reality that we're really responding to, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but our housing market is hot here in Greensboro. And so just within the last month or two, our median home sales price is right around $325,000. That's up nearly 15% from last year. Homes are selling just under about 40 days, and so while the inventory is slightly improving, it's still very tight. And so meanwhile, half of our residents in this city rent, and our median household income is around $61,000 annually, and nearly 1 in 5 of our residents lives below the poverty line. And so what that means for us in the city, we are balancing two things at one time, because two things can be true at the same time. We have a strong market demand, but we do have affordability challenges. So our charge with the Road to 10,000 is to meet that demand without leaving people behind, and to grow in a way that supports both opportunity and equity. So our vision is a vibrant, inclusive, sustainable Greensboro, one where people at every income level can find housing that works for them. And one of the narratives that you have heard is that Road to 10,000 is all about just 100% affordable housing, and that is not the case. Affordability is relative, so what may be affordable for me may be different for you at different price points, and that's what we want to focus on, achieving housing units that are across the entire housing continuum. So Realtor.com recently ranked Greensboro as the 8th best housing market in the country, which is fantastic, projecting a 17% increase in home sales this year. That's a signal of confidence, but it's also a warning sign. So if we don't act now, we risk outpacing the workforce, the very workforce that actually keeps our city running. And so the Road to 10,000 ensures that we grow with some balance so that our success story doesn't come at the expense of affordability. So now let's talk a little bit about what we've done on the city's end to make it a little bit easier to build. So we've actually been listening to you. As John Hardister mentioned, those phone calls, we actually take that to heart, and we've been listening. Developers, builders, and realtors, what you've all been saying for years. We need speed, we need clarity, and we need predictability. And so we have delivered on a couple of different fronts. We have streamlined some of our permitting processes so that way we can shorten those review times, which, contrary again to what a narrative is that we have some of the slowest processes in the state. That's simply not true. We have dedicated some resources in our development services team to make sure that we are turning those permits out to you faster and being more accessible. We are clearer in some of our communications, both electronically and making sure that our development services team is accessible to you in person. We've also modernized and optimized some of our ordinances, so we've updated our planned unit development ordinances. We've also allowed broader allowances for accessory dwelling units and some of our missing middle housing types. We still have a little bit of work to do there, but we have absolutely advanced some of those efforts. We've also put our own skin in the game in the city. So it's easy to tell you, what we would need from you all, but from the city standpoint, we've also taken a hard look to evaluate what is in our public inventory and what we own, and see if there are opportunities that we can identify partners to develop partnerships with you to expedite some development on what we own in the city. And then we're also investing in our infrastructure on the front end to have shovel-ready sites to be able to reduce the risk for you. So our message is simple. We want to help you build, and we don't want to slow you down. And I'll say it again, city staff has gotten shockingly better at answering emails faster than probably some of your subcontractors do. So that's a good thing. So when we talk about our core pillars for the Road to 10,000 initiative, the first pillar in this initiative is community. It's so important to start there first. We're working to create a diverse housing stock. We want single family, multifamily, everything in between so that people can move through the stages of life without actually having to move out of Greensboro. We want people to stay here. So we are emphasizing that mixed use, mixed income development, revitalizing our key corridors like Randleman Road, and mitigating displacement, because that is very key in neighborhoods that are seeing reinvestment and a resurgence of interest, because we all know that growth without equity is not sustainable. And if we get this right, we can strengthen our neighborhoods without actually displacing them. So the second pillar is partnership. We know that public-private collaboration is the only way that we will reach and exceed these 10,000 units. And so what we're leaning into joint ventures, public-private partnerships. We're expanding in some of our financing and some of our strategies around incentives. We're supporting our local contractors and some of our minority women-owned businesses. We're also coordinating, again, internally across different departments to make sure that our policies align with the reality of the market. And our Road to 10,000 Housing Task Force, which, if you are on that task force, would you mind raising your hand? We really appreciate these folks. These are subject matter experts. These are developers. These are advocates. They have been hard at work alongside the city staff since this spring, giving us direct feedback on zoning, giving us feedback on design standards, some of our financial opportunities, as well as helping identify the barriers that you all face on the ground to help us shape this initiative to be more effective and impactful. And yes, they have kept us honest. And it's basically a friendlier version of a developer roundtable with coffee instead of pitchforks. So we appreciate them for that. But to help keep us accountable, speaking of accountability, we are finalizing a comprehensive housing action plan, which is a 5-year roadmap that will lay out how we go from the 2,100 units that we've already achieved this year to 10,000 and more. Because if any of you have interacted with our city manager, 10,000 is not enough. And so we want to be able to exceed that goal. So what that plan will include is alignment of our local policies and our funding sources, milestones and timelines, integration of some best practices from some of our peer cities. So it's not intended to be a shelf plan. We want that to be a living tool that will help guide our day-to-day action. And so in speaking of action, we didn't want to wait to build a dashboard. It's already live. And so what that dashboard tracks right now is how many units we have completed. That is at www.gsoroadto10k.com. Carla's shaking her head in the back, so we got that right. But we want to be able to expand that to include some metrics on how efficient we're being with our permitting process, so you'll be able to visually see that in real time, as well as how we're leveraging our private investment and some of our affordability outcomes. We want to make sure residents, we want to make sure developers, our elected officials, everyone can see where we stand. And I like to think of it as sort of like a Fitbit or like your Apple Watch, you know, the health app that tracks your steps. That's our Fitbit for housing, except for unlike my Fitbit, it doesn't let you skip leg day. But we're already at 2,100 units, and that number keeps climbing every week. And so we get excited every time we go check it, and the number keeps ticking up. So we're also aligning our efforts beyond just the city, because we don't exist in a bubble. At the federal level, the Bipartisan Road to Housing Act of 2025, which is co-sponsored by Senator Tillis, supports exactly what we are doing here in Greensboro. It's promoting infill, that missing middle housing, and reducing some of the regulatory barriers. At the state level, we are also advocating for resources that will fund transit-oriented development and infrastructure that helps to make some of the new housing possible. Because when those dollars come in, that actually reduces the pressure on the development community and our taxpayers, and it helps to incentivize us to keep building more. On the buyer side, we've also expanded our Housing Connect GSO program, which, if many of you don't know, that's our down payment assistance program. So we're looking at this from all sides. So as of right now, eligible buyers, thanks to the support from our city council, they can receive up to $25,000 in down payment assistance with an additional $5,000 bonus if it's for homes that are in some of our designated reinvestment and redevelopment areas. And it's open to our first-time home buyers. That information is on our website as well, and we'll be able to have staff that can share that information with you. What that means is more qualified buyers, more closings for you. And no, we won't take the credit for the commission, but we still will be here cheering you on. If you think 10,000 sounds ambitious, remember, this is the same Greensboro that has attracted Toyota, Boom Supersonic, Honda Jet, Jet Zero. The list can go on and on. Big ideas are in part of our DNA here in Greensboro, and in this case, the big idea is making sure that every person who wants to live and work in Greensboro actually can, and we believe it is possible. So my ask to you, not just this morning as we continue through the program and as a part of your exercises at your table, but beyond that, is to continue to keep bringing your projects to us, keep bringing your ideas to us, tell us where we can improve in some of our processes, keep challenging us to think bigger, think bolder, think faster. We cannot get to this 10,000 unit goal without you. We would not want to do that. And because this isn't just a housing initiative, it's a partnership for Greensboro's future. And if we keep working together, we'll not only hit that number, we'll exceed that number, we'll build a much stronger, more inclusive Greensboro. And we appreciate you all for all that you do, your feedback, your partnership, and for help making Greensboro a place where people can find homes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager Nasha McCray. That was beautifully said, and if she hadn't gotten here, I was supposed to give that speech, and it would not have been nearly as funny, so I appreciate you. Next, we actually have our panel where we can hear from some subject matter experts on the housing initiative. So I'd like to go ahead and bring our panelists up, and our moderator, Mr. Bill Warmath.
Good morning. My name is Bill Warmath. I'm the president-elect of the Greensboro Regional Realtors Association. I'm following in the
lovely footsteps and impressive ones that Mary Beth Powell has left behind. We got an exceptional group this morning, and it's really interesting to look out across this room. We have such a wealth of talent and knowledge in here, and I'm very, very fortunate to say the same to the folks to my left and to my right. I'm going to do a really quick introduction of each. Again, Bill Warmoth. I'm the president-elect of GRRA. I'm a almost 34-year realtor. I started when I was 7, and it has been my privilege to be a realtor and a member of this association in this community. To my left, we have Amanda Hodiern. She is with Isaacson Sheridan's commercial transaction land use practice and has been since 2013. She plays a pivotal role in guiding with land use, acquisition, financing, also assists with other business matters. Amber Honeycutt, to my far left, one of my fellow realtors. She's a seasoned real estate professional. That sounds better than 34 years, doesn't it? She's raised in the area. She and her husband have strong community ties. They have a husband-wife real estate team, and they specialize in a variety of real estate services, including sales and land and new construction. Bruce Canada, to my right, works with Atlantic Bay Mortgage. He's a senior mortgage banker in Greensboro. Began his career in '97. He's worked with several regional and national banks, and with more than 20 years of experience in mortgages and as a realtor, he understands the home buying process. Marcus Cornegie, immediately to my right, is a real estate developer and technology executive. He is dedicated to expanding home ownership opportunities and believes that housing is a fundamental right, as we all do, and a cornerstone of opportunity. He has development projects from D.C., North Carolina, and Ohio, and he remains focused on creating stability and well-being for all. I've got some questions, and I'm going to start off, first of all, to give our panelists a little bit of guideline. The tall gentleman in the back has 2 colored cards, and he likes to play with them. At 2.5 minutes, he's going to raise the yellow. At 3 minutes, he's going to raise the red, and that means we need to wrap up that question and move to the next. So I'm going to start this by identifying a couple of the people up here with some specific questions, and then we want to have those involved be able to add to. There will be time for question and answer and discussion afterwards. I'm going to start with Amber. I'm biased, starting with the realtor. What role do you see our industry playing in assisting the city with the Road to 10,000 initiatives?
Yes, well, good morning. Thanks for having me. Obviously, realtors are the first call. So when we get people coming in from various industries, we are the call they make, from Zillow, from Realtor, whatnot. And that means we have a pulse. We have our finger on the pulse of the market and the community. So that's really important. I think fostering relationships here between builders, between the city, and knowing what the inventory is out here is very, very important for us, because that way when we have calls come in, we know where to send them. So super important.
Okay. Marcus, can you tell us about some emerging trends within your industry, either within the triad or outside of it, that may benefit us in this area?
Yes, good morning. I want to leave everyone with this before I answer that question. Real change doesn't come from intention alone. It really requires bold action guided by compassion to break barriers. We heard a lot of great commentary from both Mary Beth and Nasha around the barriers around homes, inventory of housing, not just here in Greensboro, but across the United States. And I think about your question as a developer, some of the creative things that I've seen in other municipalities is really leaning on the faith-based community. There are a lot of churches and faith-based organizations that have land that we, as developers, as builders, as folks intentional about really breaking these barriers around housing crises that we have in our cities, can lean into. In Charlotte, we're actually working with a Park Church on what's going to be the largest faith-based development in the state of North Carolina, be 300 affordable, attainable homes. So I see creative solutions like that, and not just in Charlotte, but in other municipalities, where leaning into the faith-based organization and bringing them into these rooms is a great opportunity for us to tap into untapped land to really shift and accelerate us towards this goal to 10,000.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd also like to add, what I'm seeing in the market personally is the need for multi-generational living. So a lot of people are looking where housing has become a little unaffordable, especially for first-time home buyers and for move-up buyers. You're seeing multiple families in one dwelling. So people are looking for that opportunity in zoning to maybe add a granny flat on the back of the house, or to finish the basement, or to have those dual primary suites, maybe one upstairs and one downstairs. Because a lot of times when the college kids are coming back from school, some of you guys may be experiencing this, they can't find a house, so they're coming back home. So they need their own space. So finding units and being intentional building spaces that work with that, I think is a huge asset to the Greensboro market. And it will help people attain homes faster and, give us various ideas, moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I saved a real easy question for Bruce. How are federal level policies affecting your day-to-day operations?
Actually, that is a relatively easy question. My industry, being on the mortgage side, is heavily regulated. And, I can look at several different areas where the federal government comes into play. But the one thing that I immediately, and we all are dealing with this right now, something that's very, very notable, is the shutdown that's going on right now. That affects our industry greatly. I look at, I guess it was around the 29th of last month, 29th, was when the thought of the shutdown was going to occur. And during that period of time, there were a lot of things going on internally with our company, making sure that we were prepared for what was going to happen on October 1st. So you look at things like on October 1st, if you had an individual that was trying to get flood insurance, for example, that was halted on October 1st. If you look at FHA, VA loans, these are all government type loans. To some degree, they were affected dramatically because of that. So this is real life. This is very current. So the government plays a major role in what we do. We hear about the interest rates, the influence that is going on with regards to lowering the interest rates. Obviously, that's impacting what we do and what happens ultimately with the buyer. Unfortunately, rates have gone the other way since a lot of the pressure has been put on lowering the rates. They haven't really lowered as much as I know we all would like for them to. But again, that's some of the things that have happened just with recently that have been going on with regards to the influence of the government.
All right, terrific. Thank you. Amanda, I have another easy one for you.
Great.
Assuming we get the ordinance changes that better support the missing middle housing, how realistic are missing middle housing products like triplex, quadplex, ADUs, granny flats in Greensboro? And what are some of the challenges related to these types of developments?
So the answer is the assumption. That's honestly the hardest part. Can everybody hear me okay? I don't know. So assuming we get the ordinance changes is really the only roadblock, because I've got people every day wanting to build those interesting, more missing middle products, especially with the building code regulations that changed, that now categorize those dwelling units as single family, so they can be built under the single family building code, which is much more accessible for builders. So now the problem is the zoning code. You can't, for example, build anything over a triplex, I believe, planning staff can correct me, without going to one of the RM districts. So now you have to be multifamily, get all those not in my backyard folks all riled up to build some of this stuff that I think we all recognize is meeting that demand. So it's very realistic. There's people wanting, ready, willing, and able to do it. But it's not just the zoning complexity, it's the cost. To do something like that now, you pretty much have to do a planned unit development to get that kind of ability to make those changes and special typologies. But it really should be more baked in so that people can do it, not by right, but in the districts, in the residential districts.
I'd like to just add to that. I think Mary Beth, and you touched on it too. It's this not in my backyard mentality that really, stifles the opportunity to build what, from a developer's perspective, is the most economical way to create affordable housing for communities and attainable housing for communities. That's townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, right? And so really getting out into the community, I touched on at the beginning, anchored by compassion. We really got to start broadcasting that message to the not in my backyard folks and really tap into that compassion element of humanity that says we're trying to build and create homeownership and affordable housing opportunities for individuals and families who otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity with other types of home products. And so I think that's something critical that we really need to be thinking about. How do we best sort of relay that message and get in those communities early, right, and often. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have to add one other thing. It's not just building new homes, it's also converting existing structures, right? So if we have these old, historic, Victorian houses, you can imagine in some of our districts, and we want to convert that to, 4 units. You can't do that in one of the R districts. You'd have to rezone, which is a huge obstacle to just, a standard homeowner who says, hey, I don't need this for my family anymore, but I'd like to keep it and make it available for other families.
I'd also like to add, anyone who's in new construction knows availability of land is scarce right now. So builders are having a difficult time obtaining land in general. So I think knowing what products are available, being in touch with the city, I was very excited to hear her share that they have a list of properties and they're working with builders, because I think the unknown and then the availability of, the septic versus, the city utilities make a big difference in affordability for our people as well, because it makes it more affordable for the builder in general.
All right, thank you. I'm going to post this to whomever would like to, because this is a big one. This is going to be applicable to the entire panel here. What are the best ways you all see to spread the word about this 5-year campaign to residents and realtors and developers? I mean, obviously vehicles like we're sitting in right now is a great way to deliver the message. But how do we elaborate on that? How do we expand that within the community? And how do we really accurately identify the message we want to?
One of the things that I really appreciated coming in here were the number of TV cameras that were here, because that's going to spread the word. I've seen things on TV already about the initiative. It's been on TV on several channels. So I think that's one of the things that we can continue to do to get it out. Having meetings like this, where we invite builders in this particular case, and we've suggested other forums where we have realtors coming in and going through the same process and spreading the word that way. I think that's one of the things that we can do to continue to put that out there. So that was one of the things that I thought about initially.
I'm going to say, beating the dead horse here, it's creating the environment, the ecosystem, the regulatory landscape to make it all happen, and then being about it. We talk about being business friendly and all that. I brag on Greensboro's City Council and leadership. Greensboro is bullish on housing, and we have to continue to be that, and we have to evoke that culture and that message from the council podium, from these types of meetings. We have to continue to portray that that's what we're about, and that will trickle down to folks who live in the neighborhoods who, maybe don't understand that, this is what Greensboro is about. We want this neighborhood growth. We want, that interesting housing type in our neighborhood, and that goes all the way down to, making the R districts inclusive of all formats. It shouldn't be RM, R plain, R this, R that. It's just residential. It just should be residential. And that sends the message that we're here for all residential, all types of home residents, regardless of how they're paying to be in that home, because they become future buyers, they become the workers. It has to be that message of, we're creating a regulatory environment, and we are here, even in front of a council full of opposition, saying, we're sorry, but this is what it looks like, and we're being thoughtful and intentional, so it's all going to be okay.
I also think the younger generation is using video. They are. We heard a stat recently that said second to Google, the most widely searched platform is TikTok. And that surprised me at such a high level, because as terrified as we are to put ourselves out there, that's where people are looking. You know, they want to be online. So I think some thoughtful videos like that for the younger people who are coming here, who their jobs are transferring here, who are graduating from college, that's a good way to reach these people who normally aren't going to sit in a meeting like this.
Okay. Marcus, I'm going to put you on the spot, if you don't mind. I know you were going to add something to that last question, but let me ask you this, because I think it does apply to you specifically. Tell us about a creative solution you've employed elsewhere, because I know that you have projects up and down the East Coast. What have been some successes or some great solutions you've incorporated into your undertakings that you think might benefit or would work well in Greensboro?
I'd like to talk about a project here in Greensboro.
Perfect.
There's a street, John Demery Drive, has a old dilapidated apartment complex, and the City of Greensboro put out an RFP for all developers to build affordable, attainable homes on that piece of land. And responding to that RFP was a great experience for me as a developer personally. It gave me an opportunity to actually walk in East Greensboro, walk down Demery Drive, talk to a couple of neighbors, and ask them, what do you want? What would you like to see, right? And had the opportunity to talk to one lady, and she said, you know, my son and his wife live with me because they can't afford to rent in Greensboro, and they're trying to save for a home, right? And so as we hear that, we start to think conceptually, what can we build over here to accommodate a family like that? And then as we started to engage with planning and talked with them about our concepts, planning brought in city council as a part of the review committee, and we got great feedback from city council members on what they would like to see and what they think the community needs. And so we were able to create a neighborhood that's going to now consist of 11 3-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom homes that are going to be priced at below 80% AMI, and then 4 single-level units that would accommodate, you know, folks who have accessibility challenges or seniors, right? So a very nice mixed community that all of those homes are going to be priced affordably, and it's really going to change, right? Take what is now a blighted, dilapidated parcel and transform it into an opportunity for generational wealth and home ownership creation for families and individuals in East Greensboro. So I think that was and that really shows the power of private and public partnership, and the city thinking and being very innovative around taking a piece of land and giving developers an opportunity to assist them on the road to 10,000.
That's exciting. It'd be nice if we could replicate that about 50 more times throughout Greensboro. The last question I'd like everybody to answer, if you don't mind, just maybe a minute or two. I'm going to start with Bruce, if you don't mind. The question is, if the Road to 10,000 initiative culminated into one major accomplishment or improvement, what would you want that accomplishment or improvement to be?
I think it would have to be the continuance of developing the houses, a mix of different types of housing. I grew up here in Greensboro. I was born here, and I still look at some of the things that were back years ago. I won't say how many years ago, but years ago when I lived here earlier, and then I moved to other areas. And I also have a child that's in Durham and a child that's in Charlotte. And I look at the housing that's there and the different types of housing that's there. And those are some of the things that I say needs to be brought to Greensboro. So if we can continue where we're going on the path that we're going, bringing different types of housing here for different levels of income, I think that's one of the things that I would really want to accomplish or have accomplished with this whole initiative that we have going on.
All right, thank you. Amanda, could you offer your...
You guys know what I'm going to say. It's the zoning code. We have to get rid of the distinctions between the R districts. It has to be all allowed. We do conditional zoning anyway, so we know we're going to have the opportunity to specify and curate and handle or address if there's some specific site concerns that really do warrant a solution or a management. So there's no reason that we need to make it harder on the front end by creating different residential districts.
Sounds great. Marcus?
You know, I think I touched on it. I'm big on impact networks, and I see it in this room today. I'd love to, in collaboration with the city, really build out, curate, mature, developers, builders, community leaders, faith-based organizations, financing partners, who all come together and are a team working together to move towards 10,000. That's really the only way it's going to happen. We can't operate in silos in our own boxes and try to tackle this problem individually. So I see it in this room today, but I'd love to see it curated, matured, refined, and we've got a network that is impactful, that's scalable, and can go at this problem together as opposed to in pockets.
Okay, great. Amber, we started with you. We will end with you.
I think as a realtor, I would love to be able to not bid against 47 people for one house for someone. I'd love to be able to make more of those calls to that excited buyer saying, you actually got this home. I would love for the opportunity for inventory to exist where the moving up or moving down for our elderly people, and they have a place to go. That is a significant need in our community, are those first-time home buyer situations, the move up and then the scaling back down. So that price point is tough, and I know it's difficult for us, and I'm hoping we can work together in partnership with the city, developers, agents, all of us together, lenders, everyone on this panel, to make home ownership attainable for every person who wants it.
Thank you very much. We all appreciate the insight all of you all have brought to the discussion. I'm going to wrap up my portion of saying I've seen a lot of changes in 34 years in Greensboro in the real estate community, in the marketplace, in availability, in financing, in supply and demand, and it is ever changing. It is ever changing, and without a coalition, my grandfather used to tell me a long time ago the best way to win a tug of war was put everybody on one end of the rope. And you know what? I see a lot of people here trying to get to one end of the rope, and I think it can benefit everyone, and I appreciate that. Mary Beth, your comments were terrific this morning, as were the panel. We are going to end this section of it and move into a facilitated table topics discussion for about 20 minutes. April, do you want to address that, please?
All right, thank you to this group. I hope you all learned something and put in your memory something that you're interested in or you want to know more about. We do appreciate you all coming. We've had breakfast, and now we want to turn the topics back to you and get your feedback. So we're going to actually